Reduce your social media exposure and increase your spiritual media exposure. So, one thing we have to understand is that materialism, although it is considered great for the economy, the amount of goods and services produced and consumed will make the economic growth increase and hence create material prosperity by increasing GDP or gross domestic product. What you need to focus on is gross domestic peace. And peace and pleasure do not mix. We have talked about it. GABA and dopamine do not mix. So increase your gross domestic peace, not gross domestic product. Let the country and the corporations worry about that. So materialism, or the increased consumption of goods and services, is harmful to the spiritual well-being of any individual. And spiritual well-being equates with peace, equates with happiness, sense of joy, and everything that we crave for in this life. There have been multiple studies where it has been found that media and advertisement increase the need for materialism. When we see other individuals who are who are owning yachts, or people who are traveling the world, extremely happy, standing next to a volcano, or just flaunting their wealth in the form of expensive jewelries, cars, and everything that leads to a flashy, gaudy life, it creates a sense of emptiness inside us. The emptiness can come from comparison with unrealistic expectations that individual is trying to portray on the social media, versus us not having any of that and leading a perceived boredom-full life, a life there's no joy, and maybe we are having financial constraints. So comparison kills all the joys in life, and especially the joys that the individual is not even having and portraying to experience. So lot of studies, you can look it up on Google Scholar and PubMed, have shown that media and advertisement increase the need for materialism. And materialism leads to loss of the well-being of the individual. So now let's try to combine these two factors, social media and materialism, in today's COVID-19 pandemic world. When the pandemic hit, in any crisis, if you look at the definition of Red Cross, there has to be loss of the capacity to cope with the problem that has been created, and a problem that creates a malfunction in the day-to-day activities of the human. That is the definition of a crisis. So COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis by the Red Cross definition. Any crisis will trigger two kinds of diametrically opposite ideas or notions, opinions in the society. One is of morality salience, the theory of terror management, which tells us that death is inevitable and there is anxiety around an individual's death. And the coping mechanism is of gratitude, which tells us that we are better off than other individuals in the society. So instead of comparing and thinking about things that can go wrong, they are grateful for the things that have gone right. Similar to the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the observer changes the effects. What we choose to focus on is what we will improve or deteriorate. If we focus on our fears, we can deteriorate. If we focus on gratitude, we can improve. So morality salience leads to increased materialism or increased accumulation of goods and services. That's why when COVID-19 pandemic broke out, or if there is any mass casualty, any catastrophe, you will see, first of all, toilet papers disappear from Walmart. You will see all the utilities, the basic XLP, consumer staples, as we call it in the stock market, will first disappear from all the stores. This is because there is a panic buying going on, in which case the individuals think that the society has broken down and the nation is failing, and because of these inherent fears, they are accumulating as much of the stuff as they can. So, panic buying itself is an example of morality salience. Now, on the other hand, will be some individuals who have reconciled with their own death. And as Steve Jobs says in his Harvard inauguration speech, knowing that my death is inevitable and thinking about it as the only thing that is true and is approaching me every day, I'm paraphrasing, that is a great way to remain humble. Knowing that your death is inevitable, it's true, death and taxes are inevitable. That truth, of course, first will create denial, anger, bargaining, grief. On all those four stages, morality salience will make you miserable. But when the fifth stage of acceptance comes, then although we call it a stage of depression, acceptance is the state of reconciliation and a closure where we have finally faced the truth and accept the truth for what it is. And that is where the fear and anxiety subside and are replaced by a sense of calmness, and perceived calmness for long periods will lead to peace as well as happiness. So, my friends, to sum it up, morality salience or fear of dying, rejection, stresses can make us look for escapisms. Escapisms can be any new addiction that you take where the sense object is coming in contact with the senses. People under stresses, under peer pressure, may start smoking, drinking, gambling, trading, video gaming, indulging in excess of food and sex, anything that is satiating the Muladhara and Swadhisthana. These things are a reactionary recoil due to the morality salience or existential threat of death, either because they had close calls with death or they have seen a lot of stresses in their life, which makes them realize that their death is inevitable. So if we have to die, why should we not temporarily enjoy? Because they see death as the end all be all. Now, the contrary factor to that, in case of COVID-19 pandemic, instead of focusing on morality salience, your death, and the rejection that comes from being so weak in front of the nature, we can think about gratitude for everything that has gone right in our life, for being above the one standard deviation of individuals who are working hard from dawn to dusk, construction, farming, things which are really a lot of physical labor that we do not have to do. So those kind of gratitude feelings that we can have for our good health, for prosperity, for family support, for good community, for having a strong nation, everything that went right in your life will reduce the impact of morality salience, the need for the media and advertisement, the need for scrolling Instagram models, and thereby reduce the hedonistic trap, the hedonic treadmill where more and more is required. And because Socrates says human beings have an enormous ability to take things for granted. So once you get something, you get used to it. And when we take it away from you, you are miserable. So try to be less miserable by trying to reduce your exposure to social media, reducing feelings of panic attacks and morality salience, and reconciling with your own death, and reconcile your taxes as well before you die. But in any ways, you have to make sure that you are in complete harmony and peace with who you are and where you are in life, and accepting the purpose and progress you are making in your life. So, my friends, try to curtail social media and increase the media exposure for anything that is going to curtail our need for materialism. So I introduced the concept of spiritual media, where you have to use the social media or advertisement platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those YouTube, for your own spiritual upliftment, for following people who you deem to be successful and doing things in the platform of spirituality and not in the platform of making material progress, because that is not going to create long term peace and happiness. Hope you like this audio. Please feel free to leave your comments below. Jai Shri Ram.